Hello YouTube, Captain Mac here, and welcome back to the life of a virtual airline pilot. We are continuing our 737 tour around the United States. You may recall on our last flight we flew into Salt Lake City, which I'm pretty certain after looking at it this time around that this might be one of those airports that Orbix has done a little work on. Because I believe Salt Lake City falls within one of the regions that I purchased from them, but I'm not positive on that. I will say this, it looks like more than a default airport, but it doesn't look like a high-end, like it was intentionally done. It just looks like a few things were done to it. But anyway, we're going to be flying today from Salt Lake City over to Pueblo, Colorado. Now, I do have an add-on airport for Pueblo. It's FREEWARE. And I'll try to remember to put a link down in the comments. In fact, I'm going to write it down right now. Link to KPUB. And hopefully that will remind me well enough to put a link in the comments where I got it from. It's for FSX, but it works in P3D. I already checked it. I went over there, took a look at it. It looks pretty darn good, especially for FREEWARE. So kudos to the individual who put that airfield together. And I don't remember off the top of my head, but again, if I remember to grab the link, I'll put the link, and I'll also put credit for the creator of the airport in there as well. So if you have P3D version 4, the Pueblo airport should work just fine for you. And yeah, might as well grab it, right? Free is always good, especially when it's good freeware. Okay, let's move on here. Let's take a look at a plan for the day using Sim Toolkit Pro. Salt Lake City International to Pueblo Memorial. I actually went to a school at the Pueblo airport about a decade ago, so I spent a little bit of time there. It's a neat little spot. It's not too far from Colorado Springs, where the Air Force Academy is at, and a lot of the Air Force recruits for the Air Force Academy, they do some of their initial flight training at Pueblo, so that's kind of cool. We're looking at 408 nautical miles through the air, trip fuel of 6,613 pounds, final reserve at 2,423. We'll probably just put that at 2.5 again. Block fuel is 14,509 pounds. Looking at our payloads down here, 171 souls on board apart from the flight crew and the cabin crew, 400 pounds of cargo, 39,700 pounds of payload for a zero fuel weight of 131,600 pounds, well under our max zero fuel weight. Takeoff weight is 145,600 pounds, and landing weight 139,000 even, give or take. It'll probably be a little higher than that, but still well under our maximum weights. Let's take a look at our charts and maps here really quick. It's a pretty short route, a little longer than the last couple we did, but you can see Pueblo just south of Denver there, and Colorado Springs would be right in this area here. We're going to be going up to 370, I believe it is today, so 390 is going to be the closest chart that SimBrief gave us. I don't know why it does it that way, but it's looking like some tailwinds, mostly crosswind, but a little bit of tailwind as we're headed out to Pueblo, so that should work out nicely for us as well. With all of that said and done, what do you say we climb up into the flight deck and get to work? Alright, so I wanted to make sure that I didn't forget the credit for the scenery, so I took a short pause there. I paused the sim, and I went over and I pulled up the information. It is down in the video description down below, the information for where I got the Pueblo scenery and the credit to the developer. So I had to do it now, or I know I would have forgotten. Okay, let's dive right in here to our flight planning, dispatch, and aircraft acceptance. The flight plan has been obtained and filed. Passenger and cargo weights are set. Fuel is calculated and ordered, and it is in fact loaded and verified. Weather briefing has been obtained. NOTAMs are checked and noted. Charts are ready for use, and that takes us, and doors and stairs are ready for boarding, and boarding has begun, and that takes us into our cockpit acceptance checklist. The parking brake needs to be set number 1. It was on, now it's off, now it's on once again. Battery up top needs to be on, which of course it is, otherwise we wouldn't have any power on the aircraft anyway. Electric hydraulic pumps need to be off. That's these two in the center there. Landing gear is down. Start levers are in the cutoff position. Overhead fuel valve lights are illuminated. Fire warning system down here. Get some pretty lights and bells, and then more pretty lights on both sides. Remember, you're left clicking and right clicking those switches there. Emergency exits need to be armed. It's actually the emergency exit lights we're arming. Left click and then left click again and you're good to go. Get the signs on so that the passengers remember to buckle their seatbelts. Recirc fans need to be on auto, which they are. Engine bleeds should be off, and they are now. And passenger boarding has commenced. That takes care of our cockpit acceptance checklist. Alright, moving right along here, folks. Let's go ahead and test our lights really quick. Right click and hold and then move your mouse off of it. Then you can let go of the right click button. You can see you got blinking lights here, and I just realized again on the last flight I forgot to start the clock. Isn't that written on here somewhere? I'm sure it is. I'll look, but I always forget. But anyway, these guys should be blinking. All these other lights should be on. They should be on down here. It should look like a Christmas tree up here, which it does. Lights everywhere. Fantastic. Our lights are working. Now, obviously, you would look closer to see if any of them are actually not working. I'm not paying that close of attention. Maybe I should, because we do have service-based failures turned on, and we've had an issue on this series of flights. But anyway, let's move on here. And we're going to jump right into our overhead panel setup. Yaw damper, we can't turn it on yet. Still don't know why it's on this part of the checklist. Fuel pumps on is required. We don't need any on right now. Cabin utility, IFE passenger switches, both of those are on. Equipment cooling is normal with the lights off. That's these guys right here. Window heat, we're going to test it first. That's the power test. That's the overheat test. They're all good. We can turn the window heat on now. And the electric hydraulic pumps go on. These two low pressure lights should go off. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything. Probe heat is off. Anti-ice is off. And left and right packs can both go to auto. I'm sure the passengers will appreciate that. Isolation valve is in the open position. And pressurization panel. So it's going to be flight level, I'm going to double check. Flight level 370. So let's put that on here. That's too far. There we go, 370, and then 4729 is the altitude of the airport. So we'll put it at 4750. That should work out nicely for us. And what else here? Exterior lighting as required. We don't need any other exterior lighting right now. We used the right ignition, I believe, on the last trip. So we're going to use the left ignition on this one. And that takes care of setting up the overhead panel. Alright, next on the agenda is setting up the FMC. Before we do that, we want to start the IRS alignment. Jump all the way up to the upper overhead panel. You're going to right click both of these guys twice. The on DC light will illuminate. Wait for the align light to illuminate on both of them. And then give it a left click over to align. And that starts the alignment process. We'll drop down here to finish up the alignment process. Go to the FMC. Make sure you got the right model, correct or updated nav data. Go to position initialization and put in your reference airport, KSLC. There we go, and it's 40, 47, and 111 58. Go to the next page, 40, 47, 111 59.2. This is where it's important to look. So 111 59.2 over here, it's 111 58.7. So it's only off by a couple of minutes. That's how your Latin long work. They work in minutes and seconds. So it's off by a couple of minutes. This is a large airport, so it's not that surprising to be off by a couple of minutes. So we are good with these. It's actually off by a few minutes, but that's okay. Come back over here, put it in that position there, and we are good to go. Let's go to the route. We do have a company route in there, KSLC. It was already in there. I keep forgetting that. KSLC to KPUB. Put that in the company route. The flight number is 3118. Delta Airlines 3118. Moving right along with these here. There we go. We'll activate and execute that. We'll go straight to our departure and arrival. And our departure today is going to be the Rugged 1 departure. Now, there's all kinds of craziness going on with this departure here. So I want to make sure we take a close look at it. It should be, and I'm just going to double check my active sky. We're expecting runways 34 left or right. So based on where we're parked, probably 34. Ooh, that's a good question. Actually, I think 34 left is probably the way to go for us. This airport's actually pretty crazy as far as how big it is. You don't realize it until you start trying to make your way around it. So I think we're going to take runway 34 left, which should work out just fine for our departure. So 34 left, and then Rugged 1. Now here's where it gets a little crazy. What's our transition going to be? And I'm just going to overlay this on our route real quick, and it looks like EKR is the transition, and I will show you guys that here in a couple of minutes when we do the departure, the taxi and departure briefings, and you'll see how easy it is to overlay it. It's fantastic. So EKR is our transition. We're going to execute that, and just look at our legs page real quick. Vectors are correct, and then it goes out to Bubby, Rugged, and so on, and you'll see the rest of that again once we do the briefings. So let's go to performance initialization. Zero fuel weight, once again it's 131.5. Reserves, we said we're going to put at 2.5. Cost index is going to be 85 for us today. That's our typical cost index. And cruise is going to be 370. Flight level 370. And then go to our N1 limit here, and we've got like 12,000 feet, or 12,000 feet of runway. So I think we can do a D-rated takeoff. We could probably do. We're a little high, 4,200 feet. I'm not sure what the altimeter is off the top of my head. I'm going to say let's do a D-rate 1, and we'll do a normal climb. And then go to our takeoff page. Flaps will be 5. Center of gravity at 24.7. Puts the trim at 5.01. Let's go ahead and lock in our V speeds. 141, 142. And 146. We should have no problem reaching those. In fact, we could probably D-rate number 2. I think with 12,000 feet of runway, let's go back to performance and N1 limit. And I want to go ahead and pick this one, and it's going to delete them. That makes sense. We're still going to do a normal climb. Now let's go to takeoff, and it's going to be 142, 143, 146. It's just going to take us a little longer to get there, but with 12,000 feet of runway, even though we're a little high, I don't think we're going to have any problem reaching those speeds. So I see no reason to burn up the extra fuel. If I turn out to be wrong, we'll be doing a rejected takeoff. Let's go ahead and set our trim to 5.26 here. Coming on up. And then it stops on you. Oh, so far. That should be about right. There we go. Oh, one more. It's so weird how it does that. There we go. 5.26 on the trim. And that, ladies and gentlemen, takes care of the FMC initialization, setup, and flight planning all in one. All right, let's take care of our taxi and departure briefings here really quick. Going down here, let's look at the parking gates. Oh, you're killing me here. Absolutely. I just signed into this thing. Just signed into it. I'm going to contact Navigraph, and I'm going to ask them about that because it's starting to get a little ridiculous. I've got Remember Me turned on, and it keeps doing this to me over and over again. Okay, let's try this again here. At the gates here, we are down. We are right in here somewhere. All right, and our gate's not even listed on here, but who knows between what the scenery considers a gate and what's a real gate? I don't know. But anyway, we're right in here. We're going to be taking runway 34 left, which is over here. So going out to this view here, see, you can't hardly see it, but it's right in here. So it's all kinds of craziness. It doesn't look the way you expect it to, which tells me it's like part default, part not default. It's kind of crazy. But the idea here is we want to get all the way over to the Bravo taxiway. We want to take that down here past the de-icing pad and then get to Alpha 1 holding short of runway 34 left. That's the plan anyway. We'll see how it works out. ATIS is going to be on 124.75. Let me zoom that in a little so you can see them. Salt Lake City clearance on 27.3, and then for 34 left, ground is on 23.775. Now the tower for our departure is going to be on 132.65. You see that's runway 34 left, 16 right. And then for departure, there's a lot of different departures here. So from 340 to 110 above 8,000 feet, it's 135.5. That's what we're going to be looking at to start with. Again, we're not talking to ATC anyway, so it's not really going to be an issue, but it's something to keep in mind. Now let's look at this departure. You see what I meant when I said it's kind of crazy looking, right? First, let's look over here. There are some obstacles. Let's see. Center line, 34. No. Runway 34 right. We're taking 34 left. It doesn't look like there's anything standard or lower than standard on 3-4 left if authorized with a minimum climb of 500 feet per nautical mile. Shouldn't be an issue for us. Now our plan is it goes on to vectors. This is our runway over here. We'll be on vectors, and then it's out to Bubby. At or above 11,000 at Bubby, it's a right turn to 054 degrees to rugged. And then we're going to be making our way out to EKR. Let me show you what this looks like here. So if you overlay this on the route, you see how EKR is right along our route there. All right, and so that works out really nice because Upjar is on our route. Rugged obviously is on our route as well. So it works out really nice going straight out to EKR. And it's great when you can overlay this like that if you're not sure and you've got a really busy departure or arrival like this, which we do. It's really cool when you can overlay it like that. It just makes it a lot easier to pick things. Obviously, we're going to have some altitude concerns here. You need to be at flight level 190 along this track. Same thing here. That's your minimum safe altitude. You can see 13,489 feet is the peak right here. So it's going to be really nice flying over those mountains. Transition altitude 18,000 feet, as it always is in this area. And that takes care of your taxi and departure briefings. Alright then, moving right along here with our main panel setup. Let's go up to this upper overhead and let's go ahead and put this back on the nav mode there. That means our IRS alignment is complete, and you can see that it is. So we're good on that. Moving right down the list here, minimums, flight path, vector, those are fine. Altimeter needs to be set to local. Let's double check that really quick. I'm going to refresh it even just to be sure. Looks like it's 3008 is the local altimeter, so that's going to be this guy here. There's 3008 there, and then if you're not sure, you can hit the Bravo key just to see if it's off by a little bit, but it looks like we're good on that. So moving on, mode selectors on map, center switch as desired, range selector as desired. We're good on all of that. Now let's get the flight directors on. Let's get the auto throttle armed. We said we're 146, so 146 plus 5 is 151. So there's our V2 plus 5 is 151. Runway heading, I'm going to double check that as well. You got to make sure you get these right, don't you? It is 344 degrees. Move that on over to 344. And then we said we need to be at or above 11,000 at Bubby. So I don't think we'll have any problems just going straight up to 370. There were no minimum altitudes, unless I missed one. And that was a little too far there. 370. Let's go ahead and put the auto brakes to RTO. We don't need to put anything on the course setting. LNAV, VNAV can be armed. And let's take a look at the checklist now. Course is set if needed. Flight directors are on. Auto throttle is armed, and the MCP speed is set. Heading is tuned into runway heading. Altitude is set for initial clearance. The autopilots are off. There are no flags on the primary flight display. Auto brake is set to RTO. Engine instruments are good to go. We can put this on the engine page for the engine start, and that takes us down to our radios. We're still doing 2336. I really have been trying to get it so that we can use ATC, but it's just not working out. So we'll just keep doing what we're doing for now. It's working out fine. Let's test the TCAS. Look up here. There's the test starting. Speed brake is down. Thrust levers are idle. Engine start levers are cut off, and stabilizer trim is set. That completes
TCAS test pass.
Your main panel setup. Alright, passenger boarding is complete. We're just about ready for push and start. Let's jump up here and get that APU up and running. We've got that going now. We'll jump down here, get the doors closed, and as soon as we have the doors closed, we'll go ahead and request our push. Close, close, and seriously, go to the next page. Close, close. Put this on ground connections. We can't disconnect anything yet because the APU is not up and running. Let's prepare for pushback and departure. And let's go up here and let's start going through our procedures here. So passenger boarding is complete. Doors are closed and locked. We have clearance for push. Throttles are at idle. Start levers are off. Packs need to come off. Wrong way. There we go. Packs off. Fuel pumps need to come on. Probe heat's not yet, right? No, it's not yet. Waiting on the APU. Fuel pumps are on. Anti-collision light comes on. There we go. And then it's parking brake and all of that good stuff. So we're ready to go with all of that. Let's let the attendants know real quick. APU's up and running, so we can send the power out from that. Turn the ground power off, and they're just about done out there, so this is going to work out nicely.
Locking gear.
Remove those. Go there. Go to the legs page. Oh, you gotta click FMC first, then go to the legs page. There we go. Get up here to a nice view. Actually, it's a little better from this side, I think. And once we start pushing back, we'll start with engine number 2, and I'll talk you through it as we do it, but you guys should be getting used to it by now. We've done it plenty of times. So we're going to use the autosave quick edit pushback.
Departure check completed. Bypass pin inserted. Release parking brakes.
Parking brakes released.
Commencing push. All engines clear. Start at will.
ACARS is running, so we're good on that. Alright, so we're going to move the start selector over to ground. We're going to start watching our N2 here. The start valve is open. Low oil pressure light is on. Looking for N2 to reach 25%. When it does, we'll go ahead and introduce fuel into the system. There's 22, 3, 4, and 5. We'll see the fuel flow start to come up shortly. There it is. Then the exhaust gas temperature starts coming up, and shortly later we'll see the N1 start to come up. There it is. Start valve will, or the low oil pressure light goes out, and then when the start selector switches back to off, the start valve open light will shut off, and then we'll just wait for the engine to stabilize. There we go, it just shut off. There goes the light. Seems to be pretty consistent around 16% on the N1. N1 will stabilize somewhere around 20%. So we're good on engine number 2. Let's go ahead and start engine number 1. Left click to ground. Same thing, waiting on the N2 down here to come up to 25%. There's 22, 3, 4, and 5. Should see the fuel flow start to come up shortly. There it is, exhaust gas temperature immediately after that. That's coming up, and then we'll watch the N1 come up. Low oil pressure light will go out. Start valve will close itself, and I will be back shortly. We'll take care of our after start procedures. Alright, I've gone ahead and confirmed a good engine start already. Let's take a look at our after start checklist. Jumping up top here. Engine generators need to come on. There's 1 and 2. Probe heat can come on as well. And while I'm thinking about it, let's make sure we get that yaw damper on. And you notice, look, we've got that zone temp warning again. That's the second time we've had it on the aft cabin. So we know how to take care of that now. We're going to bring the temperature down. Not quite all the way, but just down. And then we'll hit the trip reset. The light goes out, and then we're watching the temperature. If the temperature goes up rapidly, then we need to turn the trim air off. It doesn't look like it's doing it, so I think we're probably good to go. We'll leave it as is. That's the second time we've had that. Last time it was on the control cabin and the aft cabin, so that's interesting. Okay, engine bleeds can come on now at this point, and APU bleed can go off. Isolation valve goes to the auto position. Packs need to go auto as well. I'm sure the passengers will appreciate that. APU switch can go off now. There we go. External lights, we need the wing lights and the taxi lights. We'll go ahead and let the attendant know that we're getting ready to taxi here. And then master caution light should be off, which it is. And check the recall, which we did. Let's go ahead and set the flaps. It's going to be flaps 5. That's 3 notches. There's 1, 2, and 3. And I just use a little toggle on my yoke for the flaps. It's just the flap thing on my TQ6 is just, it's garbage because there's so many different settings. So it works out really nicely that way. We're about ready to taxi out here. We just need these guys to get out of the way. Now it is going to be kind of a crazy complex taxi here, and what I'm going to do, again, I asked in the last video, I'll ask again in this one, do you guys, let's get the track iron on, a little jump here, there we go. Do you guys want to see the actual taxi, or are you good with the way that I've been doing it, which is I start to taxi out a little bit, and then usually about 99 out of 100 times I usually just break away and then come back when we're short of the runway. What is your guys' preference? Because a taxi like this is probably going to take me a solid 5 minutes. There's not much for me to talk about over the next 5 minutes. If I had something to talk about, I'd just keep talking, but since I don't, what I'm going to do here is what I normally do. I'm going to break away, and I'm going to come back. And by the time you see this video, there will be a lot more videos already done, so it'll probably be a while before you see a change, if you guys want to start seeing the taxi out. But just keep that in mind. Get involved with the comments section down there. Get involved with what we're doing here, and let me know what your preference is, and we can make a change if you guys desire the change. All right, enough talky talk. I'm gonna break away, and I'll see you guys when we're holding short of the runway. Alrighty, folks, as you can see, this is the Alpha 1 taxiway here, and so we're just gonna pull around the corner here. And because we're doing a double D-rated takeoff, I want to make sure we take advantage of as much runway as possible. Let's take a look at our before takeoff checklist here. Well, let me get lined up first. There we go. Master caution light is off. We need to check the recall. We're good to go on that. Flight controls have been checked. Flaps are set. Trim is checked and set as well. Flight directors are on, and the takeoff briefing has been completed. Now, I guess technically I haven't. So I need to learn a proper takeoff briefing. But it goes something like it'll be a left seat takeoff. Any alarms or failures prior to V1, I'll immediately abort the takeoff, and I will announce stop, 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 or abort, 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 something like that. And then it's got some other information. That's just it. I'm not entirely certain everything that goes into a proper takeoff briefing. So that's something I'm going to have to look up and learn so that we can start doing a proper takeoff briefing. I've just been assuming that our departure briefing qualifies, but technically it doesn't. So let's take a look at the rest of our before takeoff checklist here. Strobe lights are on, wing lights are on, landing lights are on, runway turnoff lights are on, engine start switches are on continuous, auto throttle is armed, and we need to get TARA on. There we go. Get that guy on. Traffic on here, and start turning to line up with the runway. And we're going to put on terrain, and we're going to put him on weather, and that should work out nicely. It does help if I have enough thrust to get around the corner, though, doesn't it? Did I get the weather on? Yes, I did. All right. I ran out of momentum there. That's all right, though. Alright, long runway in front of us, but again, we want to take advantage of it. We got everything ready to go. Let's go ahead and get that thrust up to around 50%. I'm just holding the brakes right now. We'll release them here shortly. Release the brakes. Thrust ref. Engines are good. Thrust is set. Airspeed is alive. Hands remain on the throttles in case we have to reject the takeoff. There's 80 knots. I think we'll be just fine. We got tons of runway to work with.
V1.
Hands off the throttles.
Rotate. V2.
And pull back on the yoke. Now, why did the VNAV turn off? Let's turn that. It's still off. I'm not sure why that is. Positive rate of climb gear coming up. Climbing a little quicker than it wants us to. Just trim it down. Hold on, I gotta take a drink of something. Nice view of the ceiling, right? Alright, let's get that trimmed down just a little bit more. There we go. I'm liking that. Looking pretty good here so far. Speed's coming up nicely. Still wants us at 151. Not really sure why. Probably because that VNAV isn't on. There we go. Now it changed immediately to 230. See that? Wonder why it didn't let me arm VNAV right out the gate. Real quick, let's go direct to Bubby. Okay, let's pop that up since we obviously can't do it that way. Direct, execute, get rid of that. Fantastic. And now it wants us to bring that nose down a little bit. Beautiful view of the mountains. And then you got the lake on this side. Go to flaps 2. Watch that nose is trying to drop on us a little bit. Just keep an eye on it. Go to flaps 1. Little bit of nose up trim, just a little. There we go. That was a bit much, I guess. Little wobbly there, a little bit of turbulence. Still trying to get the speed to come up. I want to hold it right around there, so let's get the flaps all the way up. And I'm going to just let it keep speeding up here because I know it's going to change to 250 here shortly. So as long as we don't overspeed, I think we're fine. There we go. Change to 250. Start bringing that nose up. Nice and easy. Little nose up trim to help us out. There we go. Settle in nicely. Look at that. Right at 250. And we'll just hold that. Looking good. Not too shabby. Alright guys, I think we're good enough to go ahead and put the autopilot on here so we can take care of business. Track hour coming off a little jump. There we go. Let's take a look at this after takeoff checklist. Let's see here. Gear is up. We need to get these guys off. Those guys were on continuous. I forgot to start the stupid clock again. I didn't write it on here. I'm going to write it on here after this. Alright. Gear is up. Flaps are up. Auto brakes are off. Engine start selectors are off. Gear is not off. Gear is off now. That completes our after takeoff checklist. We are above 10,000 feet. Get the landing lights off. And that means, ladies and gentlemen, you guessed it. It is time once again for some of that obligatory elevator music. Alrighty folks, it looks like you came in just in time for the ride to get bumpy. I mean literally, that just started as I was coming on here. We're getting close to our top of descent. As you can see, things are getting a little crazy, and it's probably going to be a pretty rough ride on the way down. So I'm sure the passengers in back are not having fun after all of that. Look at our speed. Wow. Boy, she's struggling right now, huh? Okay, well, we're inside 100 nautical miles from top of descent here. Let's go ahead and take care of what we got to take care of, and let's get this aircraft safely on the ground, shall we? Let's see here. Our arrival, well, actually what we need to do is we need to go down here. So there is no arrival for Pueblo, no published arrival, so we just have the approach. So when you go to departure and arrival, it's going to be the ILS runway 8 right approach. It's bouncy, man. We've got plenty of runway to work with. Just double checking, but it's 10,500 feet of runway. So I think we can do flaps 30, 147. It's probably going to end up being 146 by the time we get there. That should work out fine. 109.5 is supposed to be the proper frequency, and we're going to take it all the way down to 5,640 feet. So we'll just take this down to 5,600. It's going to be a bumpy ride on the way down, I can tell you. I mean, it's bumpy right now at 37,000 feet. It's going to be bumpy on the way down. All right, 5,600 feet there. Let's see what else we got. Let's take care of the approach briefing here. Using SimToolkit Pro once again, zooming in just a little here. So the ATIS, we are flying into Pueblo. It's the ILS runway 8 right approach. ATIS on 125.5. Denver approach is on 120.1, and Denver Center on 128.375 when approach is inoperable. Pueblo Tower and CTAF are both 119.1, and ground is on 121.9er. Localizer frequency is 109.5 with a final approach course of 080 degrees. Glide slope intercept at OD 6,900 feet. ILS decision altitude 4,871 feet or 200 feet AGL. For missed approach, you're going to climb to 7,000 feet on heading 070, and then on the Pueblo VOR 085 degree radial to Jicta at 3.9 nautical miles from the Pueblo VOR and hold. You can see what that looks like here. 070 straight out until you get to the VOR, and then you're going to hang it right to 085 on the VOR or off the VOR, and then you'll hold at 3.9 nautical miles from there. Transition altitude 18,000 feet. Minimum safe altitudes, you can see 8,100, 7,200, 8,800 here, so it's some pretty high terrain around here. And yeah, we're going to come in out here at ACZs or ACZs, I don't know how you'd say it, down to the intersection here. Then it's a left to Drexel, then to Oakdee, then Goyep, and on in from there. And you can see on our profile view here, we're looking at 6,900 at Oakdee, glide slope intercept, then it's down to Goyep and in. Mauser lights today, that is the medium intensity approach lights with runway alignment indicators. Happy lights should be on the left hand side. Considering this is an add-on airfield, I'm going to hope and assume that the developer got it right on that. And ILS, again, ILS decision altitude here. For full ILS, you need a half-mile visibility, and if the runway alignment indicator lights are out, then you need 3/4 mile visibility. Pretty straightforward stuff, easy days. Let's get that out of the way. There we go. And that is some ugly looking weather there. Oh my goodness. Alright, is there anything else we need to do before we start the descent here? There is. I want to put in the ILS frequency, 109.5. Bring this down, 109.5. We'll put it on both of them. This is going to be something else coming in, huh? Oh, I went past it. 109.5. There we go. And then for our missed approach, the Pueblo VOR is 116.7. We'll put that on the standby on both sides. 116.7 on both sides. There we go. And our final approach course is 080 degrees, so we'll put that in the course selector here. There we go, 080 on both sides. And before I break away here, I'm going to double check the weather. Come on, there we go, 080, because I just want to see, I mean, that's some ugly weather coming in there. So, weather at Pueblo right now, wind is 150. That'll... Whew. I don't know, that's going to be rough for our landing. I mean, we could take, you know what, I think we're going to end up taking runway 17. I think we're going to have to change our approach here, because it's 150, it's only at 7 knots, it's not super strong. It's supposed to be clear skies too. It's still saying that we should be taking runways 8 left or right, which is a little strange to me. Why would I take runway 8 left or right when the wind is 150 and I have runway 17? It is a shorter runway, but I don't mind that. It does have a land and hold short. Doesn't mean we're going to have to obey it. It's only if the tower, for land and hold short operations, the tower will ask you if you can land and hold short, and if you can, you say yes. Holy cow, that is some ugly weather, you guys. Okay, well, with this wind, and let me just check the prediction. I mean, we're not that far out. but even out to an hour, this is what it says it's going to be. So I think we need to take runway 17. We're already set up to start our descent here. Let's take a look down here. And what do we have available? Do we have an ILS? I don't know if we're going to need it. I don't know. We've got an RNAV, but I don't know that I don't know if I trust the weather or not. We might have to fly the ILS. It's saying clear skies. I'll tell you what, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to hold on to this chart over here, and if we have to, depending on how the wind is, when we get close to approach, we can change to this approach if necessary. So let's keep that in mind. Let's keep that in our pocket, and I think we'll go ahead and we'll start the descent here, and let's just see what the weather is doing when we get there. If it's clear skies, or if the wind shifts or whatever, we'll just see what happens. I want to see what happens because the weather's been doing weird things anyway, and you can see we're going to have a rough ride on the way down. So let's get the aircraft down below and past some of this weather here. We'll get closer to the airfield, and then we'll see what happens because I don't even think there's a way around this stuff. We're going to have to go through it. All right, I'm going to go for a bumpy ride, and I'll see you guys here in a little bit. Alright folks, I'm coming on here just a little earlier than I originally anticipated. You can see we're flying on heading mode right now. I've been threading my way through this storm. It was pretty nasty. I didn't want to go all the way out and around just because that was a long way to go. So I was able to thread my way through it. You can see here we're just off to the side. It'll come up here in a second. Of two cells really. We're kind of running right between them if it shows up here. Doesn't look like it's going to show up all of a sudden. There we go. So you can see we're just skirting it a little bit here, and what I've done is I've changed our next waypoint to Drexel, and we'll turn in towards Drexel here shortly. But I just want to get past. You'll see as it comes up here, this cell just kind of, the back side of it is right before our final approach path. So let's take a look at our arrival and approach checklist here as we're sliding in here. There's the landing, or 10,000 feet, so landing lights coming on. There we go. And we'll be making our turn here shortly. So approach is selected and brief. Nav radios are set for the approach. Landing lights are on. Auto brake. I've decided I'm going to do the crosswind landing, so we'll use a little bit of auto brakes to help us out with that. Auto spoilers can be armed, maybe. We're going to arm them, but we might need them here. Let's start making this turn. We're going to need to make this turn here now. So there we go. That should turn us, should just miss the cell there, but we'll see how it goes. And then what else we got here? Engine start selectors need to go to continuous. There we go, continuous and continuous. And I think we're good to go on everything other than it's just flaps and gear and all that. Let's get the proper view here. Track hour coming on a little jump. I'm here to tell you it was a bumpy ride. Let's see if it'll grab the localizer out here. Not yet, but we are going to turn pretty much right on course. So I turned at just the right time, which is nice. And you can see we just missed that cell over there. And you can't really see it much, but it was raining pretty heavy. You saw that as we came on. There's still some rain over here. This weather is going to move our direction, so it's definitely made for a bumpy ride. So 5,600 feet is what we got tuned in there. Glide slope intercept at OD 6,900 feet. So let's just keep an eye on it. Smoothed out a little bit here, which is nice. I need to recenter my view apparently, or not. You know what I did is I moved my mouse. There we go. Okay, what else we got here? Everything's pretty much good to go. Let's go ahead and bring in that first setting of flaps. Actually, we can go, let's just go straight to flaps 5. We'll go flaps 2 for now. Let's let it slow down a little bit more first. Still haven't intercepted the localizer. Waiting on that. It is alive now, though. You can see the diamond popped up there, so we should intercept the localizer here shortly. So we're looking good. It's smoothed out nicely because those storms were something else, weren't they? Just double check. We are on 109.5 on both sides, and that is the correct frequency. So we're going to see what this wind does. It should shift around to 150 degrees, and it's about 7 knots. So it's going to make for a pretty solid crosswind landing. That's part of the reason I decided to go ahead and stick with it. I kind of like the idea of doing a crosswind landing. It's good practice. So Still haven't grabbed the localizer though, which is kind of interesting. Let's just scoot on over here a little bit and see if we can intercept it. It's probably just because we're on that heading mode, but we do need to grab it here pretty soon. There it is, it grabbed it. So we were just to the side of it. That's why it wasn't grabbing. Let's go ahead and hit that approach switch now. Glide slope is now armed. You can see it in white on there. It says G/S. And let's go ahead and bring in flaps 5 here. And just double check here. So we're looking for flaps 30 and 146. You can see the runway. We do have the runway in sight. The wind is calm right now. We'll see if that holds out as we get closer. We're a few miles out yet, and the wind can be vastly different just between a few miles. So see what happens here. Just waiting for that glide slope intercept, and then we'll finish setting up for the approach here. Should be on it here shortly. I like to let the aircraft intercept the glide slope and do its thing. It just makes it a lot easier. We could hand fly it from here if we wanted to, but I'm not going to. Not on this one anyway. I just want to see what the wind does. That's really what it comes down to. So let's let it intercept the glide slope. We'll finish getting set up for the approach. There it is. Gear down. Flaps 10. Looking good on everything. The weather's good. No terrain to worry about. Coming in nicely. So 146 is what we're looking for. So 151. Let's go to flaps 15. And flaps 25. And flaps 30. And bring her down to 151. There we go. It's nosing over a lot right now because the extra flaps, even though we're going 160 knots still. Alright, the speed brakes are armed. Landing gear is down and locked with 3 green. Auto brakes are set to 2. Landing lights are on. Everything is good to go other than the speed coming down a little bit. Let's go ahead and disengage the autopilot, my aircraft. Turn the auto throttle off as well. And we'll just keep that speed coming down a little bit here. We're descending just a little fast there. Go ahead and get her coming up. There's that wind coming in now. You see it's 120-ish at 7, so it's probably going to be 150 when we hit the runway here. So see how that works out for us. And we just want to descend a little bit quicker here. Just kind of capture that PAPI light indicator. We're at 3 white and 1 red right now. I want to get to 2 red and 2 white, just like that. There we go. Bring in a little bit of power there. We don't want to get too low, obviously. Speed's looking good. Just using our power really to adjust our rate of descent a little bit. Climbing just a little fast. It looks like maybe we got 1 and 3 there, so I think we're good right now. Just kind of holding that view in the windscreen. Not too hard on the crosswind landing. This approach worked out just fine. Backing those throttles off. We don't want to. We're getting a little high here. There we go. Coming in nicely. Looking good. Yeah. So we got just a little. See, the PAPI lights are on the runway though. That's a little troublesome.
100.
A little high. Not bad though.
50. 40, 30, 20, 10.
Little light pull. Just let her settle. There we go. That was about as smooth as she gets there, guys. That crosswind's trying to pull us to the right, so you just got to put in a little left rudder there. Go ahead and manual braking now. Turn those reversers off. Be able to make this exit without any problem. Just kind of using the brakes to help us around the corner here a little bit, slow us down. Let me switch to my airport chart over here. Nicely done. Slow her down just a bit more. Let's go ahead and get those landing lights off. Start the APU. Turn those guys off. We'll get the strobes here in a second. Bring her back around the corner. Little thrust to help us out. Let's go ahead and get the speed brakes back down. Bring those flaps all the way up. Auto brakes can go off. There we go. Get her around the corner here. So this is, again, it's an add-on, but it's freeware. And you can see that the guy who did it did a pretty good job. It's unfortunate those PAPI lights are on the runway a little bit. That throws it off just a bit. But other than that, it looks pretty good. We need to go just a little further so we're in front of that ILS hold short line. There we go. Track iron coming off. Little jump here. There we go. And let's take a look at this after landing checklist. Speed brake lever is up. Flaps are up. We need to get those strobe lights off. There we go. Let's go back to proper view since I'm still moving here. Probe heat can come off. We'll jump up top real quick. We'll get that probe heat off. A little harder to do when it's just you, right? What else we got here? Landing lights are off. Taxi lights are on. Strobe lights are off. Flight directors are off. Transponder needs to go to standby. That's going to be right down here. We're rolling to a nice gentle stop here, which will work out nicely. And the APU has already been started. So I'm going to go ahead and finish taxiing in here, folks. And then you can see that storm's moving in. Look at that. I will be back on here shortly as we're getting ready to pull into a parking space. Alright, folks, we're about to pull in here. Let's go ahead and get these taxi lights off so we're not shining in their face. I have to say, as I'm taxiing across here, whoever did this scenery, well, his name's Jim something. I don't remember his last name, so I apologize for that, Jim. But you did a great job on it. It looks fantastic. The only thing I've seen is that those PAPI lights are on the runway, but other than that, it looks absolutely fantastic. What is he doing? It's on the wrong side. Look at that. You see that? That's backwards. Okay. That's weird. Okay, I know what we're going to do here. Let's go around this way. Hopefully we won't smack that marshaller in the head with a wing. Nah, we probably just miss him there. That's weird. I had the follow me going, but I figured I had it figured out on my own at that point. And so I had him pull away. I don't know that this aircraft will really fit back there. You see that? I don't know. That'd be awfully tight, wouldn't it? I think I picked the wrong spot here, guys. I'm gonna try and squeeze it in there anyway, but it's gonna be it's questionable. It's questionable. We got some room over there, not a lot though. I don't think there's any way we could get to this parking spot in real life. Not like this. Especially not because it's backwards. Why is it backwards? Like, why is the marshaller on that side? You see that? That is definitely backwards. Too far. My bad. I was too busy trying to figure out. Oh, what a mess. Track iron coming off. Little jump here. There we go. Yeah, so that's clearly incorrect as far as GSX is concerned. But it is what it is. Okay, let's send the power out from the APU. There we go. Go ahead and shut the engines down. 1 and 2. Let's get the doors open for the passengers here. Well, let's get the chocks and stuff in first. Connect to ground power. There we go. And then let's open the doors. 1 and 2. 1 and 2. There we go. Go back to menu and then let's request deboarding. I'm pretty sure that was a pretty tight fit in there. And before we carry on, let's go ahead and close out ACARS at this point. Swing this over here for you. So it's minus 53 on the landing. We floated just a little, but not bad. I wasn't trying for a super smooth landing. I was just trying for a proper landing, and it came down nicely. So 53 minus 53 is a really solid landing there. We'll take that. Flight time was scheduled for 1 hour and 10 minutes. Took us 1 hour and 20. That includes everything. Almost hit clear flight data again. File the pilot report. There we go. And yes, we want to close the program. Let's take a look at our shutdown and secure checklist. The brakes are set. Start levers are cut off. Ground power needs to come on at this point. Put the ground power on. And let's press on down here. Doors and stairs are open and attached. Fuel pumps can all come off. 2, 3, and 4. Probe heat's already off. Window heat can go off as well. Packs are going to stay on for now. These two guys can come off. This guy's going to come off. We should turn off the fasten seatbelt signs. That's probably why they're not offloading. Are they waiting on anything for me? Deboarding requested. Doesn't look like it, so I don't know what the holdup is. They should be offloading by now, right? Oh, they were waiting on the bus. That's why. Okay. IFE passenger and cabin utility. These go off as well. Signs are off. Window heat is off. Probe heat is off. Electric hydraulics are off. All bleeds need to go off. 1 and 2 on the engines there. Recirc fan is on auto. External lighting. We can get the wing lights and collision lights off. Emergency exit lights are off. Battery will remain on. APU can go off. And that's going to wrap it up for this one, ladies and gentlemen. That was fun coming into this airport, kind of weaving my way through the weather there. And then it was a nice little crosswind landing. Came in really nice, and I'm happy with that. So all in all, I think it was a great flight. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. If you haven't already done so, please take the opportunity to smash that subscribe button. Click on the little bell so that you get notifications whenever I upload a video. Right now I'm on a 3-day upload cycle. That's as of the recording of this video. It may change by the time you see this video. But also give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. That lets me know that I'm doing a good job. It lets me know that you enjoy the content. If you don't like it, you can give it a thumbs down, but please give me some type of kind yet constructive criticism down in the comments so that I can do a better job in the future. That's it. That's all and no more, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time, as always, keep the blue side up, unless otherwise instructed by ATC. I had a little hiccup there. God bless you all, and have an absolutely fantastic day.